Well, we're gonna start a new series called Chaos Proof, and I was trying to. Yeah, I want to let you behind the curtain a little bit for pastors. Sometimes sermon series and messages come very not easily because there's a lot of work that goes into them. But sometimes the series you'd like to do or something just comes pretty easily, and then other times it's quite the struggle to try to figure out what do you want to speak on, and I was literally struggling for weeks, trying to figure out what to speak on. And if you know me at all, you know that I am not overly smart. In the sense of, I don't get myself into those political spheres and everything like that. But the result of the federal election, whether this is, again, I am not making a political statement. Please understand that. But the result of the federal election for some people was very devastating. It was very upsetting. It really bothered some people. And for other people, they were quite content with what happened. But I think what I saw from that and the reactions online and just people's reactions kind of solidified this thing in my spirit that I wanted to speak on about chaos proof. And again, this is the rest of the series is not political. I just, that was the trigger point for me to figure out what we should talk about in regards to our spiritual lives when chaos happens, right? When stuff doesn't go our way, when things get tough. And so I went to a very, very, very familiar passage in Psalms 46. And it says this: God is our refuge and strength, and he is an ever present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, and though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, and though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging, God is our refuge. And so what I want to talk about this morning is that life can feel like a hurricane. You have work deadlines crashing. You have family tensions rising. You have the relentless buzz of bad news and social media and maybe the election, or maybe your favorite hockey team lost last night in Game 7 and you're the Colorado Avalanche fan who isn't here this morning because he was so upset that they lost he couldn't come to church. Rob's here, but I was also talking about Leland Duker. If you're watching online, Leland, sucker, okay? And no, listen, you could cry about it all you want. Leafs rule. Okay, so me and Tara talk all the time when the Leafs win, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Okay, so Avalanche are terrible. Anyways, so but chaos, it's not just out there, right? Chaos isn't just outside there. It's where we live. It's sometimes in our hearts and in our minds, and it threatens to knock us off balance. But Psalm 46, 1-3 stands as this kind of lighthouse, this proclaiming God as our safe place, a solid rock, an anchor in the storm for us. And so as we're launching into this journey to build a faith that doesn't crack under pressure, that's rooted in God's unshakable promises, today we're going to talk and dive deep into how God is our refuge, our strength, and our ever-present help, turning our fear into trust. So the first thing is this, that when life unravels, whether it's a job on the line or personal crisis, or there's just too much noise around us, noise, God is your fortress. He's your power. He's your constant companion. His presence doesn't just shield you. It transforms how you actually face those storms, replacing panic with peace. So the first thing this morning is God is your refuge. God is your refuge. Psalm 46:1 declares, God is our refuge and our strength, and an ever-present help in trouble. And Psalm 91:2 reinforces, I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Deuteronomy 33:27 adds, the eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are everlasting arms. And as Psalm 62 says, and it seals it, truly he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, and I will not be shaken. See, the Hebrew word for refuge is machse. Okay, machse. Everybody say machse, but don't spit on the person in front of you. Okay, say machse. Okay. Oh, some of you really got guttural with that. Okay. And it paints this picture of like a fortified city, like walls towering against invaders. And Psalm 46 actually is likely emerged during this dire moment. More than likely, possibly, Sennacherib's siege of Jerusalem in 701 BC. And Assyria, like this war machine, Assyria was this war machine back then that crushed nations, and they came in and they surrounded Jerusalem with 185,000 troops, mocking its defenses and just coming at Jerusalem. And the Psalm's imagery is this earth giving way, these mountains falling, captures this terror, this moment of like the world collapsing. One of my favorite movies is the Lord of the Rings trilogies, and it's one of my favorite books. And in one of the movies, they show near the end, there's this big battle that's happening, and this massive army is coming in. And while the army is marching and walking and moving towards the ground, they can feel the ground rumbling. Things are starting to shake, and there was this sense of fear, this moment of terror that's happening, and this is kind of what the psalmist is talking about. And yet, in this moment, God was their fortress, stronger than the stone walls, and we read in 2 Kings 19:35 that he annihilated the enemy overnight. Right? It literally says that night the angel of the Lord put to death 185,000 of the Assyrian camp, proving his refuge never fails. And see, in ancient Israel, walled cities were lifelines. They were places that people could go to be safe. Think about Jericho, with ramparts up to 20 foot deep and thick. And God's refuge is even greater than that. A spiritual stronghold that no army can breach. And unlike pagan gods like Baal, tried to hide in shrines and fickle in battle, Yahweh's protection was this covenant-bound thing. It promised to shield his people. And this resonates today in our chaos. We might be laid off. We might have a diagnosis that comes that's not good. We may have a fractured relationship. We may have stress at home with kids, and we may have all of these things, but God's fortress stands firm, and his arms catching us when we fall. See, chaos is personal. We all deal with stuff. One person might look at something as chaotic, and another person be like, what's the problem? I don't understand why that's a big deal to you. And for me, there are things that if you knew me, you would go, that seems weird that's the thing that would set Matt off. And then there's other things that are like, no, that makes a lot of sense why that doesn't even bother Matt. And I think we're all in the same boat where there are things that just get us chaotic in our spirit and in our minds and our hearts, and we get anxious and we get nervous and we feel out of control, and it feels chaotic. You know, it's the knot in your stomach over a work deadline or the ache of a family fight. And God's refuge isn't this distant castle. It's a shelter that you can run to, and you can run to it now. Take a moment this week, and maybe you need to name your chaos. Maybe you need to write it down, and you say, God, I can't deal with this anymore. This is the thing that bothers me, and I struggle with this. Maybe your bills are piling up, or your kids are struggling, or you're struggling with your kids, or maybe your spouse and you aren't getting along, and you're trying to figure it out. But my encouragement to you this week is when we're looking for God as our refuge, that we can pray Psalms 41 over our chaos every day. God, you're my refuge. Hold this burden. God, you're my refuge. Help calm the storm. God, you're my refuge. Help me deal with this chaos. Not only is God our refuge, but also God is our strength. In Psalms 41, God is our strength, and Isaiah expands on this in Isaiah 40:29. He said, he gives strength to the weary, increases the power of the weak. Philippians 4:13, we all know, says, I can do all things through him who gives me strength. And Exodus 15:2 sings, the Lord is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. Strength, the Hebrew word is oz, and it means this inner fortitude, the resilience to stand when your legs shake. Have you ever been in a moment like that where I can think of a situation that didn't happen too long ago. It actually happened about this time last year. I won't mention it and bring it back up again, but there was this confrontation that took place with me and Hugo and a few other people, and there was it was a chaotic moment that happened about 12:30 in the morning, and I remember standing there and my legs were shaking. I was either hopped up on adrenaline, my fight or flight response was fight, and I was shaking and my legs were, but yet in the midst of that, I had strength to sit there, to stand firm in the midst of what could have been a very chaotic moment. And in 701 BC, right, the siege, the Jerusalem faced not just swords, but despair. See, as the Assyrians were taunting promised starvation, they were promising to just annihilate Jerusalem and to get rid of everybody. And if they weren't gonna fight, they were gonna starve them out. And if you know anything about medieval fighting, one of the worst things that took place back in those times were the sieges that took place, where people would lock groups of people and would lock themselves in these castles and lock themselves in, and the outside army would just wait them out. They'd plant farms, they'd plant all kinds of vegetation, the outside army, and they would just feed their military and feed their people and wait for the people inside these cities to starve to death. And yet God's strength in this moment sustained them, empowering King Hezekiah to pray instead of panic. See, oftentimes what we do is we panic and then we actually forget to pray. When times get tough, sometimes we try to solve the problem ourselves. When times get tough, we should get closer to God, but oftentimes we go further away and we begin to panic and we begin to get frustrated. And we allow the anxiety and the depression and the fear and all that kind of stuff to get in instead of going to the Lord. And what was the result of his prayer? This divine knockback that 185,000 Assyrians were dead by morning and no human effort needed. This strength wasn't just for kings, it's for ordinary people like those in Psalms 46, that they were choosing to take trust over fear. See, in ancient cultures, they idolized strength. Mesopotamia gods like Marduk were these muscle-bound human creatures that looked unbelievably strong. You saw Hercules was really big, and they had all of these gods that they depicted as these big, strong, masculine, muscular things. But their help often came at a price. You'd have to sacrifice or give or do something. And Yahweh's strength is different, freely given to the exhausted. Isaiah 40:31 says, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. In Egypt's Exodus, God's power parted the seas while Israel just stood still. They didn't have to do anything. It was all God. By Jesus' time, this strength became personal. He offered rest to the weary, right? Come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Embodied the God who empowers people. And today our storms, our work pressure, our parenting struggles, they drain us. How many of you, you just constantly feel tired right now lately? Like it's just, you feel drained and you can't seem to catch back up. God's strength, when we go to him, fills us back up again. The problem is that sometimes like I said, we forget to go to him. We try to figure it out ourselves. And so your chaos might leave you bone tired. Maybe it's endless emails, or you have a health scare, or whatever you might be going through. God's strength is your recharge. You know, each morning we can pray, God, I'm weary. Give me your power. Give me your strength. Think back to a moment he gave you courage, and maybe it was like a tough conversation you faced, or a season that you survived, and maybe you just asked God to give you the grit to get through it, and he did, and he got you through. When times are tough, sometimes we need to look back on what God did. It's why Israel put those pillars up every once in a while, right? They put up those monuments to remind them what God did for them, crossing the Red Sea, doing things so that because we so easily forget, because we're so used to, what have you done for me lately, Lord? So maybe you just need to, you're going to hear the same application point. This whole message is, maybe you need to go to God about it. The third thing we see this morning is that God is ever present. Psalm 46:1 says, God is ever present in a time of trouble. Psalm 139 affirms, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. Hebrews 13:5 promises, I will never leave you and I will never forsake you. And in Matthew 1:23, Matthew 1:23 names Jesus Emmanuel, which is God with us. Ever present means that God is found exceedingly in your distress. The Hebrew word is found exceedingly in your distress. He's not just a last resort, but he's there when the chaos strikes. And during this siege, God didn't watch from afar. God wasn't out there going, well, I hope they make it out okay. If anything, he spoke through Isaiah in 2 Kings, and then he acted decisively. He spoke because people prayed to him. This was radical. Assyrian gods like Asher were stuck in temples. They were literally useless outside of their turf, and Yahweh was boundless. With his people, wherever they went, from Egypt's deserts to Babylon's exile, God was with them. Daniel 3:25 says, look, I see all four men walking around in the fire, and the fourth looks like the son of the gods. He's even in your fiery furnace with you. He's even in the midst of all of your chaos. He is right beside you. He is not far off. And Jewish faith celebrated God's nearness. He tabernacled with Israel. In Roman times, Christians clung to this amid persecution, knowing that Jesus, Emmanuel, was with them. And unlike the Stoic self-reliance and pagan rituals begging distant deities to come in, God's presence is personal. It's constant. He's closer than a friend. He's closer than your shadow. And today, when chaos feels isolating, maybe betrayal or anxiety, God's right beside you. His presence is a steady hand. But chaos can make us feel alone. Maybe it's a silent struggle. Maybe it's overwhelming news. But God's presence is your anchor, closer than your breath. Psalms 139, we could pray every morning and says, God, you're here, comfort me. Do you recall a time when you felt him near? Do you recall those moments where he answered your prayers? Do you recall the time when he felt closer than a brother, closer than your breath, closer than your shadow? We need to go back to those times when we're feeling distraught, when we're feeling alone, when we're feeling attacked. But it requires us to go to him. And I think what happens is when we do these three things, and he's our refuge and he's our strength, and we understand that he is our ever-present help in a time of trouble, we get this thing where we have the thing that is in us, this fear, and the fear is replaced with confidence. And we need to replace fear with confidence. And there have been times where I can tell you stories of people saying, I was scared. I don't understand why you weren't, Matt. Or in moments of chaos, how you just have to stay focused and stay calm and understand that your strength is in the Lord. And it can sometimes come across as cocky. And sometimes it could come across as whatever. But that's okay because I'm cocky in the Lord. I trust him. I believe in him. I believe the yeas are yeas and the amens are amens. And the promises of the word are the promises of the word. So Psalm 46, 2, 3 says, therefore we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the sea, though the waters roar and the foam and the mountains quake with their surging, we will not fear. Isaiah 26 promises, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. 1 Peter, as we all know, says, cast all your anxiety, your cares on him because he cares for you. John 16:33 assures us, in this world, you're going to have trouble. Amen? You're going to have trouble. But take heart, because he has overcome the world. Take heart. We will not fear. It isn't this warm and fuzzy thing. It is a gritty choice to trust God when chaos screams. It is a gritty choice. I don't always do it well. I got to be honest with you. Sometimes I'm a fixer and a doer. And so if somebody often tells me something needs to be fixed or done, I will try to do it in my own strength. And sometimes I need to stop what I'm doing and say, whoa, be still, Bombay. Be still and know that he is God, and I need to go to him first. But I don't always do that well. But the Psalms' chaos imagery, this earth collapsing, the seas foaming, echoes these ancient fears of cosmic disorder that were happening, like Babylonian flood myths where gods lost control and the world was just put into chaos. And for Israel in that moment, it was this Sennacherib army, this crisis that was going to drown them. And yet Hezekiah chose to trust by praying boldly. His prayer is, you alone are God over all of us. So please deliver us. God answered. And this trust rooted in God's track record. Hezekiah knew from previous times where God has stepped in that God was going to come. And God was going to deliver. And he split the Red Sea for them at one point. He fed them in the desert, so he knew that they were, their army is under attack, their city is under attack. God was going to come through. See, in the New Testament, Peter wrote to Christians under Nero's persecution back then, facing torture or death. And he says, cast your anxiety. Hey, you're about to die. Don't be anxious about it. I'm sorry, what? Like I'm about to lose my life. Yeah, cast all your cares upon him. I'm sorry, you're missing the, like I'm about to die. Yeah. Cast your anxiety on him. See, it was no cliche for them back then. It was survival, trusting God's care amidst the lions and the crosses. And Jesus lived this, sleeping through a Galilee storm while disciples are freaking out on the boat. And his calm wasn't denial, but trust in the Father's control. Today, our chaos, our financial strain, our health fears, our global unrest, our Canadian unrest, all of that tempts to panic us, tempts to lead us into panic. But God invites us to choose confidence, casting every worry on him. I want to say this saying, and if you walk away with anything from this message, I want you to remember what's going to go on the screen right now. Fear is chaos's loudest weapon. Fear is chaos's loudest weapon. Listen, if the devil has got you afraid, he's got you where he wants you. Here's my little political thing. Get ready. Hold on to somebody. If Trump scares the crap out of you, he's got you right where he wants you. If the liberal government, if you're anti-liberal government, that got you scared, the devil's got you right where he wants you. And you could fill that statement with anything you like. If your finances are scaring you to death, you're no good to the kingdom because you're petrified. You're fearful. And it's the beginning of chaos. God is bigger than all of that. He's bigger than all of it. And I didn't mean to be this political. I'm normally not, okay? I promise you. But can I just point something out? Okay? Like, don't email me or call the church either, okay? Don't. You will not get a very pleasant reply, okay? Guess what? We're all still here. Take that for what it's worth. Don't at me. Don't email me. I promise you, do not. That's the most you'll ever hear me be political. But here's the thing. Fear is chaos's loudest weapon. It will kill you. It will destroy you. It will cripple you. It will do everything it can to make you completely maimed and useless. Maybe it's dread over a doctor's call or news headlines or whatever it might be, and we get fearful and we can't even think or work or function properly. But God's peace is stronger, but you've got to choose it. Some people thrive in chaos. Name your fear. Say it out loud. I'm scared of failing. I'm scared of seeming like I don't want people to think I don't work hard. I'm scared of a lot of things, and I name those things, and I have to deal with those things. But God hasn't given me the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of a sound mind. Lord, I cast all of this on you because I can't deal with it anymore. I cast it on you. I cannot deal with it. So in conclusion, God's your safe place. Listen, God's got you. You hear what I'm saying? God's got you. God's got Canada. More political. None of this was a surprise. I just want you to know, God was not surprised by this. God's not, he wasn't up in heaven going, oh man, I didn't see that happening. Carney, really? Trump, really? The Russian-Ukraine war, really? I didn't see that coming. Of course he did. It didn't surprise him. So why do you have to worry about it? Trust in the Lord. Give it to God. Cast your anxiety on him. He's your fortress, your power, your constant companion. He's your peace giver. When chaos roars, run to him. Draw from him. Lean in on him. Choose him. Because he's bigger than your storm. And he turns your fear into faith. Amen? Let's pray. Lord, forgive me if I was a little aggressive with the politics thing this morning. But God, I just want people to trust that you are in control. That you are a God that is not surprised. That you are a God who is our refuge and our strength. And you're an ever-present in our time of trouble. Lord, as we go to your table this morning, maybe some of us here this morning needed to be reminded of that. I know that I need to be reminded every once in a while that you are a God who is in control, that you are a God who cares for us, that we can cast our anxiety, we can cast all our cares on you because you're a God with big shoulders. He's got you. He's got you.